because I may or may not have waited till the last minute. I had pretty much 92 days to complete my 88 days. Hi friends, welcome back to So You Want to Move to Australia in 2025. And you might be thinking, Marissa, isn't 2025 almost over? And yes it is. I fully intended to have this series filmed, edited, posted long ago, many months ago, but life happens, and I wanted to spend some more time creating other content as well. And yeah, anyway, here we are now, before the end of 2025, and hopefully what I'm saying in these videos can apply for 2026 as well. Or maybe you have already moved to Australia on the work and holiday visa, and now you are considering another year in Australia and want to know how to do that. So in this episode, we are going to cover your regional work requirement / 88 days requirement / what the immigration website officially calls it, the specified subclass 462 work. Now, once again, I will be reading directly from the government immigration website so that we can get all of the facts straight. So first, what the heck is your 88 days or your regional work or your specified subclass 462 work? According to the immigration website, it is work that is undertaken in a specified industry and area of Australia. Information on eligible industries and areas of Australia is provided below. So I will definitely link this in the description below for you to reference. But this is going to be pretty much your number one bookmarked page for when you are looking for these regional work jobs. And I say that because not only is this a comprehensive list of what is approved for this specific work requirement, but also it does have a section where you can go in and put in a postcode and see which jobs are eligible for that work in that specific postcode. So while you're job searching, that's a huge helpful tool. These jobs are very competitive, and if I could give just one piece of advice to anyone looking for an 88 days job, it's just to do it as soon as you know that you want to extend your work and holiday visa for another year, and as soon as makes sense for you. Because I may or may not have waited till the last minute, but I'll talk about that in a second. So why is this work requirement so typically referred to in the work and holiday community as your 88 days? And to answer this question, I will read again straight from the same page on the immigration website. To be eligible for a second work and holiday visa, you must have carried out at least 3 months of specified work. 3 months is taken to mean a period equivalent to the 3 shortest calendar months of the year, and that is a minimum period of 88 calendar days, including weekends or equivalent rest days during your period of employment. Now, this is something extra to keep in mind, and you may not be thinking about this quite yet. Maybe you want to see how your 88 days go and then decide. But in order to be eligible for a 3rd year work and holiday visa, you actually have to complete 6 months of regional work in your 2nd year of your work and holiday. Now, I can't speak to that experience personally because I unfortunately aged out of the work and holiday visa before I had the chance to do that. Okay, so what kind of work can you actually do for your regional work? Well, lucky for you, this is also listed on the Australian immigration website. And there are tons of examples of job titles and industries that you can work in to complete this work requirement on there. Now, I would say the most common industries that work and holiday makers find jobs to count for their regional work are in hospitality, farm work, and tourism. So where are the best places to find these 88 days jobs? I have a few recommendations, but my number one recommendation is always going to be Facebook. There are so many backpacker Facebook groups that you can join that are specific for 88 days jobs, and employers post on there. You can make your own post saying that you're looking for an 88 days job, and employers can reach out to you directly. I just think that it is the best way to look for a job and see what's out there. There are also job board websites that do exist. A couple of examples are Backpacker Board and Swaggy. Now I want to talk about some important things to ask in an interview for an 88 days job, because there are some things that I think can slip through the cracks if they're not asked. And first and foremost is your accommodation options. So a lot of 88 days jobs do offer some sort of accommodation option, just because it usually is in a very, very remote part of Australia. So my advice is just to get that information up front if the employer doesn't already tell you off the bat. The second question I would ask is, how many hours will I be working per week? Remember, you have a requirement to fulfill when it comes to working hours. So you definitely want to make sure that this is the right opportunity for you to get your 88 days completed as soon as you can. Now, while these are the two top questions I would definitely ask in an interview, I think anything that you might want to know that will make your experience a little bit more comfortable is worth asking. Remember, this is 3 or more months of your Australia work and holiday experience, and while you are working towards the goal of extending your visa, you also don't want to have a miserable time. So some other things to consider asking in your interview is, how many other people are you going to be working with? If community is important to you, this is a big one to ask, because I had a friend who did an interview for an 88 days job, and she found out that she was going to be the only employee besides the manager in a very, very remote area. And that just did not sound like the best opportunity for her, because she really prioritizes community and like making friends and establishing relationships. And that's really hard to do when there's only one other person that you're seeing every day for 3 months. So that's just something to consider. Another one to consider is there air conditioning or heating in the accommodation provided, which can be a big one depending on where you're moving in the country. Is there Wi-Fi? I did not ask this question, and I found out upon arrival that I did not have Wi-Fi in my accommodation. And while it wasn't the end of the world, I think I would have rather mentally known that going in versus that being something that I discover upon arriving. I feel like in 2024, when I did that, it just didn't cross my mind that there might not be Wi-Fi somewhere. But apparently, that's a question to ask. Another one is, what is the phone provider in that area? There are some areas of Australia where some phone providers do not work. For example, when I moved out to complete my regional work requirement, I had Optus and I had to switch to Telstra because that was the only cell phone provider out there. So this is something that you can get ahead of if you ask this in the interview, instead of waiting until arriving wherever you're going and then finding out that you have to switch phone providers like I did. I want to give an overview of my 88 days experience, but before I do that, I want to give one final piece of advice to anyone looking for their regional work or considering looking for their regional work. Is just to go into this experience with as open of a mind as you possibly can. Especially if you're moving to a really, really remote area, you're going to have to adapt your lifestyle to fit your living conditions. And just treat the experience for what it is. It's an experience at the end of the day. And yes, your goal is to work towards that second work and holiday visa, but try to have some fun along the way too. And with an open mind, I believe that you'll be able to find the fun in it as well. So for my 88 days, I actually found a job out in the Kimberley, which is a very remote region of Western Australia. And because it's a big tourist destination, I was able to find a job in tourism, which aligned with my previous background a bit and what I kind of wanted to work towards as like a bigger career goal. So I feel like I got super lucky in that aspect. But as I said before, I waited until the very last minute to do my 88 days. And that was because I didn't necessarily think that I was eligible to do them because I had already turned 30. However, I didn't realize that the work and holiday visa is inclusive of 30, which meant as long as I got my 88 days done before my first visa expired and I turned 31, that I was good to go. So all that to say, by the time I found that out, I had pretty much 92 days to complete my 88 days. And I do not recommend that for anyone because it was really stressful. I want to make it clear that I did find the job before those 92 days started. That wasn't part of the job hunting process, thankfully. If it was, I definitely wouldn't have been able to get it done. But by the time I moved to the Kimberly, I had 92 days to complete my 88 days. That meant I couldn't take any sick leave. I had to get my days done, like work full-time hours. There was no messing around. And also, my job wasn't a typical 88 days job, I would say, because I actually had to sign a contract that I would stay through the entire peak season, which for me was April through October. So it was closer to 6 months rather than just the 3 months. But I was okay with that because I was thinking about the bigger picture of staying in Australia. And also, I really didn't have that much time to job hunt. So I pretty much put all of my eggs into one basket, which I also do not recommend. Which is why I said, do this as soon as possible. As soon as you know that you want to extend your visa, get this done. Okay, so enough about that. My 88 days experience, or just my experience as a whole out in the Kimberly, I was working out in Lake Argyle, and I have some really, really fond memories of that time. I will say that it was a big adjustment going from living in a city to living 70 Ks away from the closest grocery store. And there were so many challenges I had to overcome just in terms of changing and adapting my lifestyle to the more remote lifestyle and embracing, you know, the different things that people did out at the lake for fun that maybe I wouldn't have thought about as super fun for myself all of the time until I put myself in that situation and took myself out of the city. For example, I had to cook every single meal for myself because there was no option of eating out unless I had a day off and I was going in town to the grocery store. I could go to a cafe maybe for a meal. But other than that, like I was working long days. I had to cook for myself. I had to grocery shop in bulk. That was new. I had to meal plan. That was kind of new. While I've like done that in seasons of my life before, I feel like I've never lived somewhere where there was actually no other option than to cook for myself. And it sounds really dramatic as like saying it now, like, oh my God, I had to cook for myself. But it truly was like a big adjustment. The other adjustment was not having Wi-Fi in my accommodation, which meant I was spending more money on data, which at the end of the day wasn't too bad because I didn't really have anything else to spend my money on, if I'm being honest. My food bill wasn't that crazy and I didn't have to pay for my accommodation, which was really nice. And really the only other thing that people spent their money out at the lake on was alcohol or cigarettes. And those were pretty big expenses that I could leave out of my budget because I am not big on either of those things. I'm not a smoker and I am a maybe social drinker. I would spend, I would buy a drink here or there, but it wasn't anything crazy. And alcohol in that region is so expensive. If you're in a city in Australia right now and you think that alcohol is expensive, try moving to very remote WA. Prices are insane for alcohol. On the topic of money, I will be very transparent and say that I was able to save 23,000 Australian dollars in those 6-ish months that I was out at Lake Argyle. And that is quite insane. I know that is not the case for everyone who does their regional work. However, you should be able to save a little bit of money because there aren't as many temptations for you to spend the money as there are in a city or somewhere that is less remote. And I'm super grateful because that money was able to fund my city life in Melbourne once I moved away from Lake Argyle and back to the city. Now, as far as the work I was doing, I was actually in the office at a lake cruise company and I was doing bookings and reception, so answering phone calls, emails, kind of like your typical office job. I did help out with yard work every once in a while or prepping for the cruises to go out. We had like snacks and drinks that we prepped for that, so it was pretty much an office job with some other tasks that sometimes needed to be done and cleaning as well. So as far as 88 days jobs go, it was pretty chill and I was pretty lucky to find something that aligned with the skill set that I already had versus having to learn something completely new. Another thing I'm super grateful for is just experiencing the Kimberley, because it is such a hard region of Australia for like the typical backpacker to get to. It's just a journey to get out there. So the fact that I was living there for almost 6 months and got to experience the beauty of the Kimberley and the lake is pretty special, and not that very many people get to actually see that region, let alone live there. And come on, like this was my backyard for 6 months. Like it was pretty incredible. And I think I was really lucky to be surrounded by good people as well. I made some really cool friends while I was out there, and it was pretty social. Everybody was kind of all stuck out there together, for lack of a better term. And we all had a lot of fun together. And like I said, I have some pretty good memories from my time there. And if you're wondering, I did find this job through Facebook. All right, I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it all the way to the end, I hope you've gotten something out of this video. As always, feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions. I will try my best to answer them. And remember, this is all based on my personal experience. If you have already done your 88 days and you think I have missed anything in this video, definitely leave it down below as well. Would love to continue the conversation, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.